Gogolak, who has already kicked a 35-yard field goal, will now attempt one from the 20. Up. And it's good. Right through the upright feet, Gogolak. In NFL Monday Night Football, the New York Giants versus the Dallas Cowboys continues from the Cotton Bowl. With the score, New York 6, Dallas 6.
Well, hello. Thank you so much for taking time out of your day to check out this video. And welcome to the Gridiron. And before I get started, I just want to say thank you so much to everyone who's been watching my videos. I greatly appreciate it. If you maybe give this a video a thumbs up, or maybe leave a comment below, or maybe share the video. It means so much to me. But anyway, thank you so much for taking time to watch this video. I greatly appreciate it. Well, the preseason is come and gone just like that. In about 13 days, the regular season will be upon us. 0-3, it was a competitive game. It was, there were certainly a lot of bright spots, without question. I mean, preseason, you got backups in there and all. There's always going to be some down parts, and there's always going to be some positive. I mean, tonight last night there was a decent amount of positives. I'll go over the positives first, and then we'll go over the negatives. Okay. The first one, I just want to give a little credit to Daniel Jones, 17 out of 22 for 135 yards, 1 touchdown and 1 interception, which we will be talking about later. Okay. He basically, he no Saquon Barkley, no John Ross, no Kenny Galladay, no Kadarius Toney, no Kyle Rudolph. All those guys. I mean, you could start a really good football team with those 5 guys. Okay, but none of them were there. Also a couple other guys got injured as well, and I'll be talking about them a little bit later as well. Anyway, Mike Lennon, 147 yards passing, 2 touchdowns. He got that Hail Mary right at the end of the game with like 8 seconds to go. But, he did very well. He was 9 out of 17. Should have been 10 out of 17. Alex Bachman dropped the ball, went right through his hands on 3rd down, 3rd and 6. He was wide open, hit it, went right through his hands. Should have caught the ball. Should have, been a 1st down, continue to drive. But, all in all, he did pretty decent. He got sacked twice. He was in there with a bunch of backups. So, he did all right for himself. Eli Penei, He ran the ball 4 times for 35 yards, 8.8 yards a carry. The other, last week against the Browns, I think he had 2 rushes for like 15 yards. He also had another rush, I think, got called back because of a penalty. So, basically the last 2 weeks, I think he's had like 6 carries for about 50 yards. So, he can catch, he can be a running back, he can be a fullback, he can play special teams. Especially having him in there as a fullback will be very important. So I hope they keep him. I hope they can find some room on the roster for at least one fullback. Sterling Shepard, I think he had 6 targets. He caught 5 balls for 42 yards. He's continuing his wonderful training, training camp and all of that, and he's really looking good. And unfortunately, he's about the only one of all the Giants who is healthy. Between Saquon and all the tight ends and all the wide receivers we got, I think he's the only one who's healthy, unfortunately for us. More on that a little bit. 12 receivers caught balls. Very impressive. I believe last week against the Browns, I think 11 guys caught balls. Last night, 12 caught balls. That was very, very good. I can't say it against the Jets. I forgot how many receivers caught balls against the Jets, but we only completed 8 passes against the Jets. So, no more than 8 people could have caught balls against the Jets, and I don't think the number was that high. So last night, 12 different players caught passes. Very, very, and you consider, I said, all the guys that are injured. We had nothing but pretty much a bunch of backups in there. That's pretty impressive. There was actually a Sam Beal sighting. Imagine that, huh? He helped stop the 2-point conversion. They tried to run the ball outside, and Sam Beal came up and held onto the guy's leg, I think, and then he ran out of bounds. So So he got in there. Is that enough to help save his spot on the 53-man roster? Probably not. Well, all I can say is that if we were healthy, okay, probably not. But, we are kind of a little dinged up, so who knows, all right? Blake Martinez, what a wonderful interception that was. I mean, that's not a sight you really want to see. You don't really want to see Blake Martinez trying to cover a guy like 30 yards downfield, okay? That's not a strong suit. But he was relatively close to the guy. He was able to, get his hand in there and snatch it away from him. And that was a nice pass from Cam Newton. I mean, to throw the ball 35 yards or so, whatever, down the field, I mean, that was a nice pass. Okay. It was just that Blake Martinez just happened to be there and get his arm in there and rip it out. But, got to give the man some credit, okay? Hopefully we don't see Blake Martinez, that far down the field covering receivers, but it was a wonderful, wonderful interception. We had 4 quarterback sacks. Fantastic. Last week, I think, against the Browns, I think we had 3. We also had 5 quarterback hits. Pretty good. There were also some times, too, where the Patriot quarterbacks were kind of standing back there like statues, kind of wondering kind of where the pressure was at. But, I mean, we had 4 sacks, so pretty impressive, the first 2 games combined, I think we had 4 sacks. We had 1 against the Jets and 3 against the Browns, so, all right, so can't complain. C.J. Board, very, very good on the returns. He had 2 kickoffs. I think both were for 28 yards apiece, and he had a 20-yard punt return. Very good. So he's making a name for himself to get onto this roster, okay? We were 7 for 15 on 3rd down conversions, 1 for 1 on 4th down conversions. So they said should have been 8 for 15 if Alex Bachman would have caught that ball and went right through his hands from Mike Lennon. But still, anyway, 7 for 15. Very, very impressive. We had 351 total yards, okay? We had 96 rushing yards, which is not awesome, but we only had 22 attempts, right? But it was 4.4 yards per carry, so you can't complain about that. We had some nice runs in there. So Eli Penny had a couple. Corey Clement had a nice run. I know early on we were giving Devontae Booker, and he was just getting like 3 yards or 2 yards or 4 yards, not huge chunks or anything like that. But we were trying to stay committed. Okay, and Daniel Jones, if we needed something, maybe hit a short pass and keep the drive going and all that. So, I mean, all in all, not too bad with the running game. I mean, obviously, at 4.4 yards per carry, if we had ran the ball 30 times, obviously we would have gotten well over 120 yards. But, only ran it 22 times, but 4.4 yards per carry, can't complain. We only had 5 penalties against us for 35 yards. Any coach, if you get 1 penalty, the coaches are going to complain. It's too many penalties. But, 5 penalties for only 35 yards, that's pretty impressive, okay? We had the ball for 31 minutes and 3 seconds time of possession, so we actually had the ball longer than the Patriots did. Riley Dixon did a very good job of punting, okay, as usual, all right? Daniel Jones had a beautiful touchdown. That was a good pass to Caden Smith. That was a good catch by Caden Smith, too. He just lobbed it up there, and Caden just went up there and grabbed it and came down with it. Very, very impressive, okay? And Daniel Jones looked pretty good considering, who he was throwing the ball to, who he was missing, okay? A lot of it was like quick stuff, but, he looked pretty decent. He had the 1 interception, which we'll talk about that. He also had another one where he threw it to the sideline, and it almost got picked off, too. But, especially if you give him time, if he can stand in the pocket. I know, it's the NFL. Everybody's getting paid. The guys on the other team are paying to rush his ass, and all. I get that. But if you can get him standing in the pocket, right, and he can do some magical stuff. Okay. There were some other bright spots, but now we'll go to the bad parts. Okay. Graham Gano, he had 1 field goal attempt, and it was Ganud, wide right. 41-yarder. We traded Ryan Santoso to the Carolina Panthers, who actually they got rid of their other kicker, and Ryan Santoso is their kicker. Okay, so it looks like we're going to get that draft pick from the Panthers. So it looks like right now we're going to have 11 draft choices next year, and we might need them all. But Ryan Santoso kicked 3 extra points, drilled a 52-yard field goal and a 27-yard field goal for the Carolina Panthers as they whooped up on the Pittsburgh Steelers. So we had one field goal try, and from our guy who was 31 out of 32 or 32 out of 33, he only missed one field goal last year. And he had a 41-yarder. If he would have made this 41-yarder, perhaps we win the football game. Wide right. All right, anyway, Daniel Jones interception at the 6-inch line. I mean, Daniel Jones is a really good athlete. He's tall, okay. The ball was like this 1 foot line. I mean, it was close. I mean, why not, all you got to do is just get the ball over. I mean, you see some quarterbacks too, what they do is when it's a quarterback sneak, they'll get over the center, like they'll lean in forward and stuff. And everything like that, and the defense is like, oh, quarterback sneak, yeah. I mean, just get back there and you look around, normal set, get the ball and just, you know what I mean? Don't give it away, but my God, you can't quarterback sneak dive over for 6 inches? I mean, God. But then he starts rolling out, and I think he thought, maybe it was to Evan Ingram, like Evan Ingram was supposed to sit down. Evan Ingram was going with him, and apparently he thought maybe Evan Ingram was going to maybe stop or something like that, but Evan Ingram kept going and he throwing the ball behind. I mean, come on, you got to get points there. It's just like the last year, the first week against Pittsburgh Steelers, when we had the ball at the 2-yard line, and he throws it, the ball got tipped up in the air, and they Steelers wound up intercepting the ball. I mean, you got to get points there. There's 3 points right there. We lose by 2. There's a field goal. See, that's the difference between winning teams and losing teams. Losing teams find ways to lose the ball game. If we kick the field goal, okay, Graham Gano, right? Kick the field goal. It's 3 more points. Maybe we win. If Daniel Jones running, up recovered, just throw the ball as hard as you can into right at the foot of somebody. Incomplete. Kick a field goal. 3 more points. Maybe we wind up winning. Against the Jets, right? Corey Clement fumbles the ball with the 2-yard line. I mean, if we score a touchdown there, we win the ball game. Or if we kick a field goal, maybe we wind up coming off with a tie. It was 10-7. Would have been 10-10. Clayton Thorson isn't sacked in the end zone because he has to. We're down 12-7 right at the end of the game. He has to throw the ball. So if it's tied 10-10, maybe we're not throwing the ball. Maybe we're just trying to run the clock out or something, so we don't get sacked. So maybe we don't lose. Maybe we tie it. Who knows? But see, that's the difference between winning teams and losing teams. Winning teams win. They find ways to win, and they don't shoot themselves in the foot. Losing teams lose. They lose, or they find ways to shoot themselves in the foot. And this preseason, the Giants found ways to shoot themselves in the foot to lose. And I know it's just preseason, but it can easily carry over into the regular season as well. The Baltimore Ravens, okay, just won their 20th consecutive preseason game. That's an NFL record. Apparently, if I'm reading it all, the record, there's not big records kept on preseason, But apparently the old-time record is Vince Lombardi's Packers back in the 60s. They won 19 preseason games in a row. Okay, well, the Ravens just won their 20th. I think it was on Saturday. They won a 20th preseason game in a row. 20 in a row. We can't even win one in this preseason. Winning teams find ways to win. Losing teams wind up finding ways to lose. And the Giants have been finding ways to lose. I hope it doesn't carry over into the regular season. Okay, our run defense. Oh my God. I mean, against the Browns, Browns had 25 attempts, 163 yards. They averaged 6.5 yards a carry. Absolutely pathetic. This week, we had the Patriots ran 21 times, so 125 yards, 6 yards a carry. Absolutely pathetic. Gaping holes up in the middle. Nobody's setting the edge. Guys getting the ball running out. I'm like, where the hell is the edge? I mean, my shoddy tackling. And it was the first string. It was the second string, the third string. It was all absolutely, unbelievably pathetic. We gotta clean that up. I mean, if the other team doesn't have to pass it, well, they'll just hand the ball off. Just hand it off. We'll get 6 or 7 yards every time we carry the ball. We don't need to pass it. Yeah, right. You have to stop the run. Oh my God, horrible, absolutely horrible. Mac Jones, he looked very good against his 10. He was 10 out of 14. His quarterback rating was only 131.8 against us. My God. Even Brian Hoyer, he was 9 out of 10 against us. His quarterback rating was 97.1, so we sure made them look good. I'll tell you what, I'll bet you Mac Daddy Jones, he winds up winning out over Cam Newton for week. Cam Newton is he's not a good thrower of the ball. I mean, I would put Mac Daddy Jones in there and just ride it out. He might have a couple rough outings here or there, but I would just let him do his thing. But we'll wait and see. But I mean, Cam Newton really didn't look too good. But Mac Jones, we made him look. Well, can't say we made him look good. He looked good against pretty much some of our backups. Okay, but he looked good. He looked good. Our second defense did not look very good. Okay, at all. Especially in the. I mean, the start defense played, like pretty much the whole first half. The second half, was a different story when we had our second and third string guys in there. The first 5 drives that the Patriots had, in the second half, Patriots walked down the field, scored a touchdown. Walked down the field, scored a touchdown. Then they punted the ball. Then they walked down, they got a field goal. Then they walked down the field again and they missed a field goal. So, I mean, they were just walking up and down the field. The next time they got the ball, I think they ran the clock out at the end of the game. So that really wasn't even much of you can't really even count that drive. But I mean, pretty much out of their 5 drives, they had like 4 scoring opportunities in the second half against our, I mean, as I said, it's your second string team, but you're going against second stringers too. You know what I mean? So it's like if one or 2 guys, 3 guys aren't doing too good, but I mean when the other team just keeps walking up and down the field against you, it's not looking pretty. I mean, hopefully we don't get a lot of injuries on the first string and have to start relying on these second stringers because we might be in a lot of trouble. Okay. And then looking to add some insult to injury. Okay. Evan Ingram was walking off the field or limping off the field. I think he had a calf injury. And then Darius Slayton, he had a problem with his foot last year. It looked like he had a problem with his ankle or his foot. I'm not sure if it's the same one as last year or what. Don't know the extent of any of the things at all, but so those guys came out with injuries. So Kadarius Toney, we're not sure what's wrong with him. Okay, Kenny Galladay got the hamstring. John Ross got his hamstring. Kyle Rudolph, hopefully he'll be able to get him, but he's not on the field because of his foot. Saquon Barkley because of his knee. All right, then we got, as I said, Evan Ingram was hobbling off the field. It looked like possibly a calf. Okay. Then we got Darius Slayton, which is like a foot or an ankle or something like that. So pretty much like the only one real starter guys, is Sterling Shepard. Okay, because I just rattled off 7 guys. So we had like maybe 8 guys. All right, between Barkley and those other 7 receivers, tight ends, we got 1 healthy guy. And we got like a offensive line. It almost kind of looks like a sieve. It's like Andrew Thomas. Wow. He only played like a half. Okay. Apparently, what I was reading is he was responsible for 1.5 sacks. Okay, Daniel Jones was in on 5 drives. Andrew Thomas gave up 1.5 sacks. So basically, in a full game, okay, you get around 10 drives, maybe 11 or 12, but just say 10. So Daniel Jones was in there for like 5 drives. So Andrew Thomas gave up 1.5 sacks. So in a full game, he would have gave up like about 3 sacks. So that would be 51 sacks in a season just from one player given up. All right. He also gave up a penalty too. He also gave up in like 5 drives, gave up like 3, possibly 4 quarterback hits. My God. That's like 6 to 8 quarterback hits in a game. Plus 3 sacks. Oh my God. Unbelievable. I mean, there was some positives. I mean, there was some times when Daniel Jones had some good time back there to throw the ball, some good protection. We had some good running sometimes. Okay, we had a lot of positive. Even when we didn't get a lot of yards, we still got like 2 yards or maybe a yard or something like that. You know what I mean? But my God, I mean, pick number 4, and he's still. Oh, jeez. Unbelievable. Well, we have 13 days. Hopefully we kind of clean it up a little bit, but there's plenty of work to do. I also saw, Trevor Lawrence, kind of like bitch slapping the Cowgirls. Trevor Lawrence had a very good game against the Cowgirls. He was 11 out of 12. I love that. Was a good game. The Jaguars beat the Cowboys 34-14. Trevor Lawrence had 139 yards passing and 2 touchdowns. So the Cowboys finished 0-4. They lost the first game to the Steelers. First game, the Hall of Fame game, they lost 16-3. Then they lost 19-16. I believe that was to the Cardinals. Then they lost 20-14 to the Texans, and then they lost 34-14 at home to the 1-15 Jaguars. But Trevor Lawrence was just lighting them up, baby. I think he only played like about a half. He looked good. Tell you what, and the Cowboys really look bad. But that also kind of brings me to like the NFC least. Okay, the NFC. I mean, it's just preseason. Don't get me wrong, but the 3 of the divisions, the NFC South only had 3 wins combined. 3 of the teams had 1 win. So they had all the preseason games in the NFC South. They wound up with 3 wins. The NFC North, the Chicago Bears had 2 wins. The Lions, the Packers, and the Vikings, and the Bears, Lions, Packers, and Vikings, they had no wins. The Bears had 2 wins. So that division only had 2 wins. So the North had 2 wins. The South had grand total of 3. NFC South had grand total of 3 wins. The NFC least had the least amount of wins. They had 1 win. The Washington football team had 1 win. The Washington football team, was 1-2. All right. The Giants, of course, were 0-3. The Cowboys, of course, were 0-4. The Philadelphia Eagles were 0-2-1. They gave up a Hail Mary pass at the last play of the game to the Jets, and the Jets get a 2-point conversion. So the Jets wind up tying the Eagles, so that's where the Eagles got their 1 tie. But the NFC least, the preseason record, was 1 win, 11 losses, and 1 tie. The NFC least was outscored in the preseason by 135 points. Absolutely, not one of the teams had a plus for the points against. Every team had given up far more points than they actually scored. Absolutely pathetic. I mean, it's going to be a fun, interesting race because, I don't know if anybody's going to run away with it. Especially if the Giants win, they're not going to run away with it. I mean, if things come together, they can certainly be like 9-8. 10-7, something like that. I'm going to go over this, in a video coming up. But I mean, if their injury just keeps escalating like this, then they're basically going to have nobody on the field to play, especially on offense. Or if their offensive line does not improve, especially Andrew Thomas, they're in a world of hurt. But I mean, you got 2 weeks to go. Keep your fingers crossed. Maybe we can start getting some guys healthy, and hopefully, maybe with any luck, we'll be somewhat healthy when we play the Denver Broncos in the beginning of September. Well, as always, guys, thank you so much for taking time out of your day to check out this video. You guys stay safe out there and go Giants! Woo!